All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. We're excited today to talk about sales, talk about some of the common objections, things that we get. I think many of us know as photographers, we're not necessarily natural salespeople. We, ultimately have to sell and do a lot of things, but that's not necessarily our base course, set of skills. So we're going to talk to some sales experts. We have a great team here at Kubicasa, and we're going to get some great feedback, some great tips that will kind of help us through the process and kind of take it from there. So welcome to Kubicasa Sales live event. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that Tammy and I, we did a book study earlier this year on Go for No. Just talking about rejection and talked about, the word no itself. So I am going to turn it over to Tammy, and she's going to share a little bit, and we'll proceed from there.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate you being here. And so like Mark said, so we studied the book Go for No, and just the idea of getting over being afraid of no and actually wanting to fail faster. So as long as you're getting no, it means you're out there doing something. And so that got me thinking about people that we could look to who heard a lot of no and what happened when they refused to take that for an answer and kept trying. So we're going to do a little bit of a quiz, and everyone, please feel free to chime in if you know who any of these people might be, and we'll just talk about them a little bit and just kind of go through it really quickly just for fun. So again, thanks for being here. And so our first person of interest, this is what they said. So when you're out there, someone's always going to have a comment. So what this person heard was that they were unfit for television and were fired. Does anybody have an idea who that might be?
Oprah Winfrey.
You win! Yes. So Oprah, as we know, has gone on to be one of the most influential people in America and maybe even the world. It turns out she was not only fit for television, she is also an actress, a producer, went on to own her very own television network, and has been, we would say, a successful person, despite hearing no and being fired, and kept going. Our next person. So this person, this author, was had this book rejected 30 times, 30 different publishers, but just kept going. Does anyone know who this might be?
The Harry Potter lady.
That's what I thought too. But actually it was someone who wrote horror novels.
Wasn't it Stephen King?
It was Stephen King. It was Stephen King. So not only was this book rejected 30 times before someone agreed to publish it, this was his third novel. So he had been through this, and refused to give up, kept going. He's gone on to publish 63 novels at least. I'm listening to a brand new one right now. I don't know if that's included in those 63, over 200 short stories, film adaptations. He's been translated into over 50 languages. That book that was rejected was Carrie, a little story you might all know. And then this artist was told that he should just go back to driving a truck. No talent, not going to make it, just give up.
Garth Brooks.
Anyone? Sorry?
Garth Brooks.
Not Garth Brooks. That's a good guess, though. That's probably not enough of a clue. Let's do the reveal, Mark. Elvis Presley was told, this is after his first performance at the Grand Ole Opry. He was told, son, you ain't going nowhere. You ought to go back to driving a truck. And we know how that turned out. And next, so this person, this creator was told they had no good ideas. They lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Not enough of a clue. High school dropout, fired from the Kansas City Star. Let's reveal. Walt Disney. He actually he only ended up moving to California after his own creative business went bankrupt. He went on to revolutionize the animation industry. He pioneered robotics animation. He planned Epcot Center, and he founded Cal Arts. And then I sort of like the rock stars. So I looked at a few of those guys to see who had persevered. And this is a little band that I've been quite fond of. They were rejected. Gene Simmons of Kiss took pity on them, recorded a demo, took it to his producers, still rejected. So what did they do? Did they give up? No, they kept going. Does anyone know who this band might be?
Yes.
Not Kiss. I shared this with some of you guys earlier. I had to dig this out of my collection. Does anyone recognize this now? Van Halen. And then the last sample that we have, thanks, Mark. Our last example of not giving up is kind of the silliest one of all. These guys were told that guitar music was on its way out. Just give up. They were rejected by a British record label, Decca Records.
I'm thinking that they couldn't be Beatles.
Ben, you're right. The Beatles were rejected. The Beatles got a no, but they never gave up, and we all know what happened. So to sum up my little quiz here, so this is in my mind. I keep saying yes, but then as Mark and I discussed the book Go for No, what I took from it was not to just keep saying yes, but to actually look for no, because the more you're hearing no, the more you're doing, the more you're trying, the farther you're going to get, and the more you're going to be able to accomplish. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark for a little bit more discussion about Go for No.
Yeah, one of the most impactful things that I found in this book was a story that was told about a salesperson. And he was super excited because this guy came into a store and he sold him a complete wardrobe. Like he sold a suit, he sold tie, shirt, shoes, everything. He said he even sold him his underwear. He's like, I got this guy totally set up. And, his mentor was there, and he was disappointed because his mentor wasn't like super excited for him. It's like, dude, I sold this guy everything, man, even down to his socks and shoes. I mean, everything. And he said, okay, whatever. He said, but when did the customer tell you no? He's like, what do you mean? He said, I showed this guy everything. I got him a suit, a sports jacket. I got him socks, got him shoes. I sold the guy underwear, like, dude. And he said, but when did the customer tell you no? He said in that moment, he realized that it wasn't the customer that stopped the sale, but his own limitations that stopped the sale. because he had, in his mind, got to his own spending limit and determined I can't sell anything more to this guy because I wouldn't spend anymore. Like there's no way I would spend more. So he stopped the sale. And, many times that's what we have a tendency to do is we get to a certain point where we wouldn't do anymore or where we wouldn't go beyond, and we'll stop, we'll give up, we'll shut it down because we put our own self-imposed limits on. And, that's not really effective, because again, what we're here to do is provide information to people to help them make an educated decision, to give them what they need to really do what they do better. So it's better to position ourselves in that way rather than to have it be limited and then we miss out on the benefits of what can be. So it was a very profound book. I highly suggest you get it. It's called Go for No. It's by Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. Phenomenal book. Will definitely transform how you look at sales and will position you to do some amazing things. But as we were preparing for this webinar, Tammy and I got together with our sales team, and we kind of talked about, what everybody's superpower was. And so we want to actually start with our sales team and kind of go through some of those superpowers, because it's really an amazing opportunity to hear from great salespeople who do this all the time and can help us break down some of the barriers that we face. So we're going to go ahead and start with the amazing Ben.
Thanks for the lovely introduction, Mark. So I would say that the most important thing that I learned from doing a little bit of research on this book, and it kind of like really struck close to home, is the importance of setting a no goal. It doesn't mean that I'm a sadist and I take pleasure in pain, but I move closer to getting to yes by accepting the no's along the way. So the yeses will come, but you have to go through the discomfort and sometimes the struggle of hearing those no's. So once you accept this, once you accept the fact that you'll hear a lot of no's until you get to yes, it will take away a lot of the stress and pressure in getting to that yes response. So it's important for you to be able to be resilient, to focus on the here and now, and understand that no is a perfectly acceptable response. You may have the wrong person, it may be the wrong time, and you may be focusing on the wrong discussion with them. So this isn't so much about focusing on all of the no's that you get along the way, but you should certainly learn from those no's. It's about building your emotional resilience to rejection. So no often means not yet. What I learned in the book is that 60% of customers say no 4 times before they say yes. And 92% of salespeople also give up after those 4 no's. So what sets us apart from the 92% and that small 8% is our willingness to push through the discomfort, push through the pain, understand that this is an acceptable part of the sales process, and embrace, from what I learned in the Army, embrace the suck and understand that you are finding the right people to speak with, and often you have to go and you have to have discussions with the wrong people along the way. So I think it's important for us to write 3 words down, and let it be your mantra before you start, calling people or emailing people and trying to sell yourself and your business. Write these 3 words down. unseen, untold, unsold. Go out there and tell your story to as many people as possible. So with that, I encourage you to be strong. I encourage you to go for those no's, accept it, embrace it. You will get more than your fair share of yeses along the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Now we're going to hear from Chris Mitchell, and he's going to share his superpower as it relates to sales.
Yeah, so when I think about like no's and overcoming objections, I really like to take a consultative approach. Just like you go to the doctor and but a good doctor would not just immediately prescribe you a prescription. They would ask you questions. They would try to get to the root problem, and then they would prescribe a solution. So I like to take that same approach. When somebody says no, I like to know why. I mean, it's just like a kid, you ask them, they ask you why, and then you tell them, and then they ask you why again, and then they just keep drilling deeper and deeper and deeper until they really get to the truth, So I like to take that same approach and really just understand why. Is it the price? Is it does they just not understand the value and what goes into the product or service? Are there other forces at work? Maybe they have to get someone else's kind of buy-in on the to move the sales process forward. So really understanding why will help you really get closure. It'll also help you with future sales conversations. And then it just, helps, respect everybody's time so that, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. But really just, doing that and doing that enough, you'll start to see the most common objections, and you can actually even map those out. I like to, throw that into a Google Doc and map out the top 3 to 5 plus, sales objections. Is going to vary depending on the sales conversation, but definitely mapping out the most common objections and kind of formulating a response to overcome those objections. Because like Ben said, no is not always a final no. Sometimes people say no 4 times before they say yes. And it's really just a matter of addressing those objections and concerns and trying to figure out a way to overcome those. And then, I think one of the most popular things that people say no to, for example, would be like price. Price is, one of the most common things, and it really comes down to 2 things. When people say no to the price, it's usually either they really just genuinely can't afford it, or they just don't see the value enough to see it worth that price. So that's kind of the way that I think about, overcoming no and overcoming objections in general.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. All right, we're going to throw it to the main man, Sam Poole, and hear from his superpower as it relates to sales.
Cool, thank you. So, yeah, going back to no, I mean, I've read books, I've watched salespeople, I have. Sales is kind of what my life has been ever since I left college. There's Zig Ziglar has always said, if any of you have ever heard or read one of his books, he always says every sale has 5 obstacles: no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, and no trust. So whenever we had a no with sales, it was typically one of those reasons. And of course, what that leads me onto is something that I have been taught, and what I kind of base my work around. When I first took my first sales position, I was a car salesperson. I worked for Honda UK. Honda in the UK is typically a car that is desired by the older generation. So I was always the grandkid that was selling them a car. I had the puffy cheeks, and I just had a good relationship with the people. But I think the main reason that I got along with the customers so well was the mission statement that I followed upon joining this company. It was like an oath at that point. And our mission statement, and what I try to carry on with everything that I do with my work, is the mission statement was as follows: providing customers with an excellent level of customer service through honesty and trust. Now, what that relates into is, to me, sales isn't just about signing contracts, getting money to hit the bank of a company. Sales is not the way that I look at about it. It's not just selling anymore, because people buy from people. That's a big thing. Anyone can go onto things like Amazon and purchase other things quite easily without that human interaction. But especially if you work in a people business and you need people, sales isn't about selling anymore. It's about building trust and educating. So where you're having a potential no, it's about educating the reasons around that to not avoid, but combat that obstacle. And another one that I've written this quote down. This was by a person called Laurie Richardson, because sometimes salespeople get a bit of a bad rep because they seem to think that salespeople have this end goal, which is to take somebody's money, etc. And what that was is it's selling is not really selling is really about having conversations with people and helping them improve their company or their life or both. If you look at it like that, selling is a very admirable thing to do. I like to think that the product that I sell now, which is the Kubicasa solution, I don't call myself a salesperson anymore. And the reason is because it really does improve companies. It saves people a lot of time and therefore improves their life. So it's not something that's, you're going to put 10 years extra onto someone's life or fill their bank account or do anything like that. It's not one of those solutions. It's not a magic ointment. It's a small thing that can have a big impact with time. And therefore, my kind of tip is just be cool with people, have conversations, find out what people really want and try and match that to that. If they don't know what they want, try to educate them in that. It's not like providing people with lessons, but we as a company, we provide lots of facts, figures, information to essentially help you. We want to help you grow. And that's why we have these kind of meetings. And there's a lot of information out there that can help other people. And we hope to think that this product helps you as a photographer or as an appraiser, or for whatever reason that you may use this. It helps save you time and it's an easy solution. But there's a lot of facts and figures that show that floor plans, for whatever reason that you are providing for people, actually help that customer as well. So it's a chain. So have good conversations with people, provide excellent customer service through honesty and trust, backed up by facts and reasoning, and the sales will come in by themselves. Just be genuine. That's what I would say. So there's kind of not a superpower, but at least I'd say it's not a superpower. It's just talk with people, listen, understand, educate where you can.
Awesome. And I disagree a little. I think it is a superpower because I think, just some of those basic tenets have been lost, in this world. And when you simply relate to people, it changes everything. So thanks for sharing. All right, Tammy, let's hear what you have. What are your superpowers?
My superpower, I think, goes hand in hand with what Sam was saying. So just listening. And also, I am not a salesperson. I can't sell anything, but the way that I see it is that I have something that can help people and make their life easier or give them more time to spend with their family. So, when you approach it that way, it's like you take yourself out of the equation and you're really just thinking about the person that you're trying to help. So you're talking to a real estate agent, based on the research, that having a floor plan with a listing is something that is desired by potential buyers. It helps you're providing something that's going to help that agent. You're going to save them time by eliminating prospects who may not necessarily be interested in the property. So just to be offering to help, like we're offering to help. We're offering something. We're not selling anything. We're here to help you make your life better.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Tim.
What I can say to kind of back that up, as us as salespeople with Kubicasa, I don't even know if I should say this, but none of us here at Kubicasa have like sales quotas, targets, figures we need to meet. We don't have that. So all of our work genuinely comes from actually having a strong belief in a product that it actually helps people. So we don't have those quotas or targets to meet. We don't call you because we need to hit a target or a goal. We call you because we actually know that this is a product that's helped genuinely thousands of companies, because we've just completed over 10,000 companies that have registered and use us.
Yes.
It's an actual solution. It actually works. It does wonders. It saves people time. We do it because we know we've got something good, and we think that it will help you much further as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I would say that a lot of your success, whether it be, selling CubiCasa or photography services or cars or whatever it might be, is to have a belief in yourself as well. To know that what you are doing is going to improve the life and add value to the people that you're trying to have those relationships with. And to focus less on it being a transaction and more on it being that relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of those common threads is the relationship piece. I'll share my superpower, and I think it's actually the opposite, because really mine is the fact that we need to learn to remove the power of no. It's one of the smallest words in the world. It's a 2-letter word, but the word itself absolutely has zero power. But what happened is over the course of time, we've given it power. And it could have started at that 7th grade dance when you wanted to ask the young lady across the room for a dance and she said no, and your friends, excuse me, your friends were all laughing at you and you had to go back and now you're embarrassed. Who knows where it came from, but somewhere in our life, that word received power that we gave to it. So if we remove that power from the word and simply see it as everybody has explained, that it's just another opportunity, that it may be a delayed opportunity, it may be, just that we need to ask a few more questions, that we may need to figure out a different type of solution. But if we can remove the power of that word no and simply realize that we're out here trying to help people, as Sam so eloquently stated, and we're trying to provide solutions and do things to really, push people into what will really just be a good solution for them to help others, then we win. And I like to look at it like scientists look at things. Scientists are one of the few people who don't look at failure or the word no as a bad thing. They look at it as great. I'm closer to my solution. I'm closer to what's going to work. I know what doesn't work now. So now I can keep pushing towards what I know will work. So I think when we look at it from that perspective and we remove the power or the sting or the rejection that comes with that word, it positions us greatly for success. So
I've never looked at it like that, scientist. I like that. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, my daughter calls me a mad scientist, but scientists. So we're going to open it up for some questions, because again, we know that you have questions that you get. We know that there are opportunities and things you hear from your realtors, from others that you deal with. So we're going to open up the mic. If you want to jump in, if you would rather type it in chat, feel free to do so. But we want to hear from you. What would you like some feedback on, some tips, some understanding, anything that you have? Let's hear it.
And I can tell you quickly, I have received a lot of no's. If anyone's in here that I called when we first launched this product 3 years ago. And I said, hey, you can do a job that takes you an hour to do in 5 minutes with a mobile phone. I received a lot of no's, guys. A lot of no's. People thought I was crazy. So, but here we are, and it still works.
Absolutely.
I want to kind of go on what Alan Newland stated in the thread. He says, being a good salesperson is fundamentally selling solutions to your customer. So sometimes they don't even know they have a problem they need solving. So we need to explain how our product benefits them in some way. Okay, so I think that is essentially true. You know, we need to be empathetic to the pain that our customers are having. We need to be good listeners and to focus less on selling to them and more on understanding them and addressing those needs. So they may not really know the right questions to ask, or that they have that need. But as you explore their pain, you will come to the right questions to ask them, and you'll be able to alleviate that pain through, well, it's less about focusing on a solution and more getting to an understanding of them and having clarity and knowing how you can alleviate that pain.
Agreed. And, you know, Tammy and I being photographers, we're out here all the time. And I think that it goes back to what Sam said. You know, when you build an effective relationship and your focus is on doing things to better people and help them in their journey, it changes the whole dynamic. You know, I try to have a solid relationship with all my realtors so that I can, one, know what their needs are, because I can't really be assumptive and know, you know, exactly everything that they're going through. But when I have the opportunity to talk and share and understand who they are and what they're going through and understand what I can do then to help them meet that need, it changes everything. So again, I think it goes right back to that piece of relationship and getting to know the people that we're working with.
Yep. I agree. I mean, there's nothing to add to that. That's really what it's all about.
Any other questions, or does anybody have a scenario or anything that comes up with when it comes to sales that becomes a sticking point for you?
Yeah, what's some reasons some potential realtors have told you no for a floor plan, if you have asked? I'd love to know.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for someone to chime in, Anastasia, if you have any questions from Facebook, let us know.
I'll just throw out another question too, just to the photographers on the call. I'm curious about what your experience was of doing floor plans before, and if you had done them before, or if you found us because you had an agent ask about floor plans. I'm just kind of curious what your experience was before and how it is now. If anyone has a story.
So Alan's just said Kubicasa has been my best add-on offering that he has. They used to do floor plans as a subset of Matterport, but that was expensive and time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Of course, Matterport's a product. It's a very different product, but if you're using it solely for the purpose of creating a floor plan, of course, there's other solutions. So yeah. Especially when they look, you know, identical or very close to being the same as Kubicasa scans. It's just very, very much more efficient. And of course, it provides you with a much better profit margin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that Tammy and I talk about a lot is the fact that I think sometimes we post stuff on our website or in our our order sheet or whatever and just say, oh, hey, I have floor plans, and we expect people just to get it. And I think that works in some cases, but without a formal, introduction or understanding of what a floor plan is, because to be honest, I've had some realtors that have been in the business for quite some time that didn't really understand what it was and what it was that I was offering. So yes, I put it on a sheet somewhere or on a website, but they didn't really understand it. So when I actually took the time to show them what it was, to walk through, to demonstrate it for them and then show them the output, it changed everything. They were like, oh my God, I had no idea. I didn't know that I could, I could get this and it could look like this. And, we have some cool things coming down the pike really, really soon that are going to even change it more. But it's like, once you take the time to actually show it, demonstrate and put it in front of them, it changes everything. But it takes me actually making an effort to show it to them versus just sticking it somewhere on a website.
Right. I think you're exactly right. It's like I said earlier, it's like you have a really great party, but you haven't invited anyone. So nothing's going to happen until you let people know about it.
Yeah.
And
I have a
think
question.
You want to push me? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I came a few minutes late, so if you've already discussed this, then I don't want to make you put everybody through it again, but I'm curious about the relationship between the yeses and the nos. Kind of what's been your experience or anyone's experience on the call with, kind of how much do you need, how many no's do you need to get before you get a yes, I guess is maybe an easier way to ask the question.
So that's actually a study that's been, so it differs with every market, it differs with every product, but that's something that's a heavily discussed topic. Some people argue it takes 5 no's to get a yes. Some people argue it's 9. They're the 2 most popular numbers. You will get objections between that. And most of the time it is, of course, no money, no need, no understanding. They're the top 3. It does take a lot of no's to get a yes. And the more no's that you can get, like the fantastic quote that Mark said about the scientist, you're closer to receiving that yes. They're the more typical ones. So I can relate this to another. Like I say, I used to be a car salesperson. I used to work for with cars, and you'd go through the customer, and what we used to have a triangle, and we used to have lots of different questions through the sales process to reach what we call common interests, or the end goal, which is to sell a car, right? So what I would do is I would ask you questions and make sure that the product fits for that. So I'd ask, who uses the car? Who do you have kids? Do the kids need a ride to school? Do they have equipment? Do they do activities, sports? And I would always match the product to what their needs were. So at the end, you're going to get no's. And
Just showed up a few weeks ago.
And if you've asked those questions enough and you filled the need to what those questions were, there should be no reason to get a no. So then you can challenge it. So when you told me that you needed the car to take the kids to ice hockey, and it has the perfect amount of space for all the ice hockey equipment, why would the car not have enough space now? Because you've asked all the relevant questions. And it's about having that conversation to eliminate the chances to get no, but at the same time, if you do get one, you understand why. So yeah, 5 to 9 no's is a typical way of getting a yes, but it's definitely complicated, and it's different each time. But
I also
think having
think-
just the info.
And I'm thinking about, in addition to that, it sounds like you're talking about, pick a target, pick a lead. How many times do they say no before you eventually get them to say yes? But it's also, do you need to go after 100 leads to get one yes out of that 100? So the sort of the statistical aspect
Yeah.
of it.
You could do it like that. You could call up 100. I mean, Steve, I think you're a photographer. Would I be right?
Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes. So if I asked you if you were to pull out the phone book and call 100 real estate agents, how many real estate agents do you think you would be able to acquire as a customer?
Well, that's really the question I'm sort of asking here for everyone.
Yeah,
I think I'd shoot myself before I would call 100 realtors, but
yeah, exactly. And
it's
it's about challenging those no's. It's about understanding whys and being able to offer some level of not argument, but reasoning to why they should pick you. You know, there's a lot of companies in the world. There's a lot of people offering products and services. You explaining why you are a fantastic option to be picked is key.
I think maybe it also depends upon how cold you are when you're calling those 100 versus if they've
Yeah,
already
definitely.
they've already gotten 20 emails from me and they've seen my website and what have you, and they kind of know why I'm calling and I'm not a danger. Right, it's going to shift. You know, the more you touch people, the more they're getting comfortable with you and trusting you.
So another example, there's a Californian real estate photography company. I've been trying to work with that company for 2 years and 6 months. They were one of the first customers I ever called, or should I say prospects I ever called. You have no idea how many emails I have sent. I have been the most annoying person to them probably that they've ever received. And last month they reached out to me and they said, Sam, thank you for all of your efforts. Thank you for continuously being persistent and trying. We're ready to work with you. I've assigned a person that's specifically going to work with this on this project. They're all yours to use. Their time is for you and to make sure that this project goes smoothly and fantastic. And we've just acquired their business. 2 years and 6 months I worked for that case, not continuously. And I've received
Congratulations.
2 years and 6. But sometimes it's persistence that's key. And like you say, the more you speak to them, the more they know you're not a danger. The more they know of you, the more they remember your name and your services. And one day it'll just click.
Yep.
And that's the way it sometimes goes.
I think there are many different flavors of no, Sam. You know, there's the no, which is an outright rejection of what you're offering. There's a no, meaning not yet. So this Californian photography company. And then there's also a no that might be just kind of a hidden request for more information, but they don't know how to frame their question properly. So it's always important to just kind of pull back the layers just a little bit and better understand your customers by asking the right questions and framing it the right way, because I promise that you'll be able to get to a yes if you're able to do that.
And Steve, I'll add a little bit. I was in a unique position where I relocated from a pretty established market in Chicagoland to North Carolina a little over a year ago. And, you know, when you move to a new market and you're starting from scratch, you get a lot of no's, you get a lot of rejection, you get a lot of silence. So what I did was a lot of what Sam talked about. I focused on building relationships, and, you know, I was on social media and meeting people, you know, of course, with the pandemic, couldn't meet a lot of people in person, but, you know, found pages and, you know, would congratulate people when they sold a home, would talk to a realtor about some of the things they were doing, would do all of those things, even offered, you know, a discounted rate to, you know, offer pictures and floor plans, all of that stuff. 90% of the people didn't even respond at all, you know, but here a year later, I've gotten 5 or 6 of those people who I originally reached out to who are now reaching out. And one of them I had a great conversation with a week ago, and she just said, you know, I really just wanted to get to know you. I really just wanted to understand who you were, understand your processes, and kind of watch from afar before I decided to finally say yes. So sometimes it's just that relationship and building up so that you get to the point where that yes is their, you know, acceptance.
I have a business associate. He runs a VT company that his perspective is email a lot and often, and you keep doing it until when they say no, they mean stop. to Ben's point, this is when they're basically saying unsubscribe me. He says, as far as he's concerned, if they haven't asked me to unsubscribe, either they have never had time to pay attention to the emails coming in, or I'm not bothering them and they may find it interesting. So he just continues. You know, I'm this month, I'm running an outbound, email campaign geared around floor plans. It's been the largest increase of energy on my website since I've started doing this year. Partly, I mean, maybe it's the topic also, but partly because I've just been pounding them with posts and emails. I've gotten one unsubscribe from the entire list. Am I successful yet? Well, I guess I'm successful because I've only gotten one unsubscribe, but we'll see. We'll see when they start sending money my way, if that happens anytime soon. I think it's early, to be honest. I think it's early. I need to get them to know my company a lot more from other perspectives besides just floor plans. I mean, they have access to my website, of course, but it's been encouraging in the sense that I got one unsubscribe, and either everybody's too busy to notice, or to be honest, I could see they are opening, they're clicking. So
Yeah.
And at that point, I would still send a breakup email to try and regain their business again, to be honest. I'm sorry to see you go. I'm sorry if these emails are too much. I just really believe in the product. I'll happily unsubscribe you for now. If you would like to keep in touch in the future, you really value your business, etc., etc. And that might be enough to simmer down someone that maybe is a little bit upset by being contacted.
right.
So,
That's
I would do
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting idea. Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Alan,
Go ahead, sorry.
no, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I can't remember what I'm going to say now, so go ahead.
I was just going to respond to Alan's comment. He says, my experience is you get fewer no's as you become a subject matter expert. Confidence makes a huge difference. So with competence comes confidence. But, I think that a very important component of confidence is having a personal belief in yourself and how you can positively affect the lives of the people that you interact with. So if you have a strong belief in yourself at the core, and also a belief that what you are selling can have a positive impact on those that you are talking with, then you're going to be successful, because it becomes less about you and more about them. And people are focused upon what they can get out of that interaction that they have with you. So if you can make it about them, you're going to be successful. And if you project that confidence, they will be more willing to accept what you have to offer them.
Great. Larry wrote it's something I think Tammy and I see a lot, especially with this, the hot market going on. He said the difficult part in my area is that there are so many real estate agents that will not even pay for professional photos. Thus, it's difficult to get them to spring for a floor plan. In this market, they don't see the need. The home is going to sell so quickly, even with horrible pictures. I try to get them to understand that it's really about building their brand that will lead to increased listings in the future, but they tend to be short-sighted. I know Tam and I have talked about this extensively, and I know it happens for both of us in our market as well. And I think, Larry, what you're saying is exactly right. The point is to still build your brand regardless of the market, because at some point it's going to change. And, your marketing is your marketing. Your referrals are your referrals, and people are going to speak to the process. But Sam or Ben, do you guys want to jump in, or even Tammy?
I have something really quick. I think real estate agents are definitely more salespeople. Of course, relationship is key, but not everyone buys a house every so many you know, they don't buy a house every year. It's a very big purchase, or it's a very big sale for people. I think as a salesperson, I would much rather have 4 very good leads walk through the door of an open house where they've seen your fantastic pictures you've produced, the 3D tour, the drone, the video, the floor plan. I would rather see 4 incredibly hot leads that have come through. They've viewed everything on the MLS, online, on a website. They've seen everything they need to see. They're coming to do what people do, this final inspection before they are ready to make that offer on such a big purchase. A home is a big purchase. It's absolutely is. It's probably one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make in your life. So I think if you can really encourage them to get those extra hot leads in with all the information ready, so when they do view the home, they're ready to buy, that's also key. But if you're attracting 4 hot leads into a property, potentially, you've got the capability to go for a bidding war. And if I'm earning a percentage and I have the ability to have 4 people bidding on the same house, which is potentially just going to increase the price, it means I'm earning more money as the salesperson. So of course, brand is key. You want a good realtor so they can get the best value for money for your house. But at the same time, that agent's going to have that same mindset. And
Yep.
There's a lot of people that would really love hot leads to the house, all the information ready to buy, just doing a final check to make sure that everything online that they've seen is good to go. So that's what I would say.
I would add that, and I've had that experience before, where there's the realtors that, they've been using their phone forever, and they're not willing to spend $100 on a third party because they're just not it's not the right time, or they're not the right people for what most of the photographers probably on this call want to be targeting. Now, you can't help that. They haven't learned yet. They're not as serious about their business. It could be a million different reasons, but unfortunately, we have to. That goes back to my earlier question about 100 targets, because you're really trying to filter out the 90 or so that don't want to spend $100 or more, and until you find the 10 that understand the value of floor plans or virtual tours or the whole package. So that's what we're trying to, weed out, the 90 or the 60 or whatever the count is that aren't either ready or may never be ready because of how they run their business. But that's not your target customer, really. They just get in the way. Or maybe you have an opportunity with a good relationship to educate them and they come around. But it's difficult, right? Because you end up dealing with 100 people before you find the few that are in the right mindset.
And thankfully so. Going for no is all about limiting future discussions with those people that are not going to turn into customers. And finding the right people to have those conversations with.
And Tammy, you were going to jump in?
No, Sam already answered. Same.
Awesome. All right. Anastasia posted, for those that didn't see it, the incredible Tammy did post about how certified photographers promote floor plans on their website. So if you want to check that blog post, it's listed in the chat comments.
I'll just say thank you for that, but it's actually was the amazing photographers. So yeah, I do recommend looking at that because there's some great ideas there.
And then I also want to give a shout out to Anastasia and the team and our marketing team, because they have put together phenomenal resources for all of us to be able to use, and some are white labeled and things like that, to be able to share tips and things with your realtors, because we wanted to make sure you have the tools necessary to help your sales process. The more we can arm you, the more we can give you to help you and push you out there, the better you are. So we'll add a link to that as well. And then John, thank you for your question. You asked if there's a list of the top 5 no's. what are the top 5 objections from realtors? We don't have that list, but we will put it together. And I know Chris already talked about coming up with the antidote for those top 5 objections. So we will go through that and make sure we get that posted for everybody to see.
Yeah, hey.
Any
hey,
other? Go ahead,
hey,
John.
Mark, this is John, and if I could just add,
Absolutely.
I know you'll probably be more familiar with this than others on the phone call, but part of getting someone to need the floor plan is understand the value of that floor plan and what is the win for them.
Right.
FHFA, at least in the United States, I don't know if this is a US call or a worldwide call here, but the FHFA, who governs Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, just announced yesterday that in 2022, they're going to expand what has been in pilot for 3 or 4 years now to policy, where appraisers will be able to do their appraisals from their desktop. Now, what that means is the appraiser is going to have good data about the property, and these sketches have already been reviewed by appraisers, by the GSEs, and are widely accepted. So a value add to your realtor would be, hey, look, you guys go ahead and knock out this floor plan. When it comes time to have the appraisal done, the appraiser might actually be able to do your appraisal without even coming to the property. They can use the floor plan you've produced, the photos that are being produced, and expedite their closing. You start telling realtors that their closings are going to be expedited or made easier, there's suddenly a lot of value there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But if you'll Google FHFA announcement, you'll get educated about it, find out what all that actually means. But it's super exciting, and they're opening the credit box too. They're looking at this for efficiencies in lower income markets, because traditionally during a pilot, of course, they're wanting to. They've always been using super high credit, low risk loans to test and learn. They've tested and learned enough to feel comfortable that this process works, and they're opening that credit box to even lower credit scores so that everybody in the market can get these efficiency gains.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
what I can
major.
add is as well, Freddie Mac released a press release about 3 months ago, saying that the appraisal space, people will be able to capture enough data with LiDAR through a cell phone. Kubicasa, as you know, we now offer a gross living area, which is the appraisal space floor plan, with all the calculations with the gross living area both included and excluded according to ANSI standards. So yeah, absolutely. There is appraisers now that actually work from their desk, and there is companies that hire field representatives to go out and take that data to supply it to people currently that work from their desk. They're called hybrid appraisals. So this is already happening. So it's happening today, and people are using the Kubicasa solution to obtain a floor plan for GLA to be used by appraisers that are working remotely from a desk. So this is still happening. This is happening at the moment.
Yeah, the FH announcement is to take that from being, those pilots were small, only a small fraction of loans across the US were, and only a handful of companies were allowed to do that. And they are using the Kubicasa app. This announcement yesterday is basically saying this is moving to policy, which means any loan, not just these small groups of people. I mean, this is huge news. This is the company I work for. This is what we've been trying to do for 5 years now. So we're super excited to hear this. And this may just be another lever you guys can use as salespeople to build value in getting that floor plan captured as early in the process. And an easy question you can ask, because most realtors that have been around long enough, have you ever lost a deal because the appraisal came in low? And then ask them, was the appraisal low because, everybody thought the house was X when it was actually Y in square footage? Hey, nip that early. Find out the actual square footage so that your CMA, which is their comparable market analysis, is based on accurate square footage. And therefore, when the appraiser comes along, if they're using that same square footage, there shouldn't be such a delta between what an agent's finding in the market, what an appraiser is finding in the market, if they're both using the same square footage.
Yep. Yeah, it's super powerful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, John.
Thank you, John.
Hey, glad to help.
All right, well, we are right upon our 1 hour time frame, and I know everyone has a lot to do, and we want to get out there and be productive and sell more floor plans. So we're not going to hold you. Larry, I do see your question. I'm going to send you something directly on that. He was asking about the color schemes and the floor plans, and so I'm going to send you something direct on that just to make sure we have you covered. Thank you all for the rich conversation. It's been awesome. Thank you to our incredible sales team, Sam, Ben, and Chris, for jumping in and sharing some insight and tips that really help us to focus our efforts and our intentions and make sure that we're doing the right things to make sure we're presenting ourselves well. Tammy, thank you as always for being an awesome co-host and making these things really what they need to be so that our community can continue to grow. Anastasia, thank you so much. Sergio, Nawate, thank you so much for our marketing team. They always do a phenomenal job, mostly behind the scenes, but the work and effort you see from our website to social media all across is because of this dynamic team. So thank you guys all for the work that you do as well.
Yes, thank you,
And
everyone.
Alan said, thank you all. And Steve said, thanks. So thank you so much for your time. We will post this webinar so you'll be able to watch it again. And just a special note, stay tuned because next month, Tammy and I, and as well as Ben and Chris, will be live from PFRE. So we'll be going live a few times to share what's happening out in Vegas. So, you know, what goes on in Vegas, we won't stay in Vegas because we're inviting you to be there.
Live streamed on Facebook.
What happens? Yeah, what happens in Vegas no longer stays there. It gets streamed everywhere.
All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.